Well, if the lightning comes again, Charles and Michelle, you just jump.
Greetings, class of 2024 and your parents and families. It is indeed a pleasure to see so many of you and welcome you to the Wake Forest community. Thank you for joining us today. From Boston to San Diego, from Miami to Seattle, from New Orleans to Chicago. At Wake Forest, our mission is to open the doors of opportunity, to seek truth and cultivate a community of people of good character and mutual support. This calling has never been more important and perhaps has never been more deeply challenging. The communities in which we live are under great stress as we cope with the perfect storm of a pandemic, an economic recession, and painful reminders that we, as a country, have repeatedly failed to live up to our ideals. In the midst of this perfect storm, we are working on plans to reopen Wake Forest this fall. Because more than anything, we want to welcome you into this community that we cherish. We look forward to what each of you students can bring to this learning community. With the help and expertise of many, we are developing a flexible plan guided by 4 guiding principles. 1, the health and safety of our faculty, staff, and students is our very top priority. 2nd, the integrity of our academic work is paramount, and we will continue to pursue excellence in course design, delivery, and scholarship. 3, we are committed to honoring our core values as a caring community that respects one another and honors the intrinsic value of every individual. And 4, we are unwavering in our dedication to educating the whole person and upholding our commitment to pro humanitate, for humankind, for humanity. Following these principles, our plan is being outlined by 3 defining qualities. First, our success this semester relies on the shared commitment of the whole community to health and safety of all. In order to have an operationally smooth, intellectually engaging, and emotionally fulfilling semester, we all will need to play a role in the health and safety of the entire community. We will be asking each of you to commit to a set of practices, a compact, if you will, that will promote your own health and safety and that of everyone on campus. Second, our plan highlights the innovative course design and delivery that our faculty members are working on intensely during this summer. Recognizing that everyone may not be able physically to return to campus, we're preparing our course design to include face-to-face, blended, and online classes. Teaching will use technology when necessary and where it enables students to engage more fully in rich academic experience. And finally, our plan offers significant choice and flexibility for our students and our faculty. We have worked to create a model that will meet the many preferences and needs of faculty and students alike. Ultimately, our step forward seek to embody the essence of Wake Forest, a place that takes each person seriously, respects their intellect and disposition towards learning, and invests in the quality of every experience and interaction. There will be much to learn as the semester unfolds, and we will need to create the greatest flexibility to adapt to conditions as they change. As we look forward to the fall, I thank you in advance for the many ways you will help to make this semester a success. The strength of Wake Forest is its people, and I'm grateful to welcome you to the family. We need your vitality, your curiosity, your diversity, and your passion to learn. I would now like to turn over our time to key leaders who have spent much time shaping our thoughts for the fall. Please let me introduce our Provost, Rogan Kirsch, to get us started. Provost Kirsch is a Wake Forest graduate, a distinguished political scientist, prize-winning teacher, and he came back to Wake Forest after teaching at New York University. Provost Kirsch.
Thank you, President Hatch, and what a delight to be with you all. I so look forward to welcoming you for what I hope is an in-person welcome this fall. As the President said, I'm a proud Wake Forest alum, and in my 8th year as Provost, if that's an unfamiliar term, think Chief Academic Officer. In that role, I'm honored to work with President Hatch and a terrific group of deans and cabinet colleagues on all the academic aspects of Wake Forest. I'm going to introduce 2 deans now, both of whom work with undergraduates at Wake Forest, and they'll take you through some specific planning for this fall. Dean Michelle Gillespie, Dean of our college, and therefore the Dean of all of you entering undergraduates, has been at Wake Forest for more than 20 years. She's a nationally renowned historian of the US South and of women's history. Charles Iacovu is the Dean of our business school. He also has an extensive tenure at Wake Forest, and most recently, he's led a remarkable scenario planning effort you'll hear a bit about tonight to ensure that our expected fall reopening is as smooth as possible, and that it's characterized by, as the President said, your health and safety, academic integrity, a Wake Forest style education under whatever modality, and a collegiate experience, much like that we are proud always to offer. I'll send things over to Dean Iacovu and Dean Gillespie now.
Thank you, Provost Kirsch. Before I share a few thoughts about our exciting fall plans, let me take a minute to welcome all of you to Wake Forest. I'm truly excited that you'll be part of our first-year class in a couple of months, and I cannot wait for you to begin your special Wake Forest journey. Despite the current circumstances, I know it will be an amazing experience for each one of you. Now let's talk about our plans. As our provost mentioned, I currently chair our university-wide team that is coordinating our planning efforts as we contemplate various scenarios about how we will operate our campus in the fall and beyond. As mentioned already, in every plan we create, the health and safety of our community is our #1 priority. We rely on our resident medical professionals and world-renowned experts at the Medical Center to help shape all of our plans. In addition to relying on our internal experts, we're in constant communication with dozens of other universities to ensure that we are aware of their latest thinking as well. In all, I feel very confident about the rigorous planning work that is guiding much of what you will hear today. Related to our academic plan, we anticipate a couple of things to be central to how we will deliver courses in the fall. First, we expect that all of us will have to follow social distancing and other safety measures, including masks, to minimize the risk to your health and those of our colleagues. Because of the need to create more personal space for each of you, we will need to reduce the capacity of our classrooms and limit the size of our on-ground classes. 2, not all students and faculty members who want to be on campus will be able to do so because of specific health conditions, concerns, or other reasons beyond their control, such as travel restrictions. As a result, it will be essential to offer significant remote learning options. Because of these factors, and as President Hatch mentioned already, we have developed a course delivery program that will provide extensive choice to you across a number of class formats. In general, smaller classes and courses requiring hands-on experiences such as labs and studios will be delivered face-to-face. Many of our classes will be delivered in a blended format that combines the best of in-person engagement and state-of-the-art technologies. Finally, large classes will be offered in online formats to minimize health risks. Overall, you will have a set of options to consider when it comes to your fall semester. We aspire to have you, and each one of you, make your own choices about the modalities of the courses that you will take to the extent possible. And as I mentioned already, our goal is to allow students who are unable to join us in person to complete the semester virtually. Finally, let me say a word about our calendar. Assuming public health conditions allow, We plan to begin your courses on August 26th and end the face-to-face part of all of our courses by Thanksgiving. At that point, and assuming we have no other disruptions, all of our delivery will switch to virtual to give you a chance to get home and complete your courses there. I hope this information is helping convey the rich set of academic options that will be available to you in the fall. And now, Dean Gillespie will speak about the great work that your professors are pursuing to make all of this possible for you. Dean Gillespie?
Thank you, Dean Iacovu. Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted to be able to speak with you tonight and very much look forward to welcome you to Wake Forest. I want to share with you why I believe our undergraduate faculty at Wake will be better prepared than just about any other institution to teach in the modalities that President Hatch and Dean Iacovu have described: face-to-face, blended, and online. Last spring, our faculty, like your high school teachers, found themselves in a very difficult situation. They needed to switch to a remote delivery with about a week's prep. Wake Forest faculty, as you know, are deeply committed to literally being with their students, to being in class with their students and engaging them, to meeting them in office hours, to meeting with them over coffee, to engage with them in face-to-face personal relationships. So switching to remote was really a huge shock, a huge transition for our faculty, but they did it, and they did it really very, very well. Our faculty in the process of doing this learned a lot, as our students did too. Faculty learned, among other things, how to better use technology as one of many critical tools in their teaching arsenal to be excellent. Our students reported that they learned much better than they had expected in this new modality. And they also told us that their faculty were available to them, very available to them virtually, just as they had been in person before this happened. But at Wake Forest, we strive to do even better than what we did this spring. We began preparing for summer school coming around the corner. And for the first time in our history, we needed to offer all our summer school courses wholly online. To prep for this summer, we trained 80 faculty in May in a very intensive 3 weeks course to do better, to be excellent at teaching online summer courses, the Wake Way, to make sure our courses were rigorous and engaging and as excellent as they had ever been when they were face-to-face. And record numbers of students are taking those courses right now and telling us that things are going really, really well. We're learning from that May training and our student faculty summer experience in real time to press ourselves to do even better, be even more excellent. How do we meet the challenges and opportunities to deliver the very greatest courses for our students this fall? And we have a powerful plan that we are implementing right this moment and through the summer to make sure that that happens for each of you. Dean Iacovu has talked in detail about in-class and blended formats. Here's how we were preparing for our online versions. Right now, all of our faculty are examining their fall offerings within their academic departments and figuring out the best modality for them to teach their course in. They want to be able to ensure that we offer all our core courses and our courses for the majors, and we want to be able to ensure we offer courses in the right modalities to enhance student learning and great student experiences. The challenge for us is how we make sure our 500 or so faculty teach in the Wake Way. And we want to make sure it is Wake Forest's signature education, rigorous and intimate and excellent. We've come up with a wonderful plan called Wake Forest Peer-to-Peer Learning Communities. And what this means is all of our faculty are spending this summer working together and with experts in best practices in online technology and pedagogy to redesign their syllabi, their courses from the ground up. So the faculty will be doing this work beginning next week through July, and they're completely rethinking how to use technology tools to make their great education even better. So they're centered on the learning outcomes that they want their students to have and the way technology provides tools for them to be able to realize this. They are reimagining how to share their disciplinary knowledge in new, exciting ways. They are a community of learners. They are curious, they are engaged, they are collaborating with each other, and they're pressing each other to be even better than what we have been able to accomplish in the past. All our faculty are doing this at all stages of their careers, from our most senior faculty to our newest faculty. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because our faculty want to take their great teaching to a whole new level, to use technology to enhance their courses in whatever modality they will teach this fall. This means that no matter what course schedule you have this fall, whether you are at Wake Forest or you must be at home, you will have fantastic, inviting courses that challenge you, that engage you, that excite you. And you will have Wake Forest faculty who get to know you all along the way, who support and mentor you in your personal and professional growth because they care deeply about you and want you to be successful. Now, one aspect of our course offerings for you as first-year students is our first-year seminars. And I want to talk a little bit about those first-year seminars. As our faculty are getting ready to teach you, and knowing that they are already great professors and they are spending their summer honing their craft, redesigning their courses to ensure that they employ the very best practices, they are also thinking about how they can take these wonderful first-year seminars that we've always had and make sure that they're as exciting as they've ever been. So you, the incoming student, will be choosing your courses with the advice of our academic advisors in a little over a month. And we'll have a really exciting menu of offerings for you when it's time to register. Perhaps the most exciting of these seminars, courses will be a series of seminars designed specifically and only for you, our newest Wake Foresters. Every first-year student takes a first-year seminar. It's limited to less than 20 students per section. They're taught by our best faculty from across all academic divisions and ranks. Every first-year seminar is topical and interdisciplinary, and it's designed to spark intellectual curiosity and introduce a thought-provoking topic across the arts, the humanities, the social sciences, and scientists. First-year students learn to read increasingly sophisticated texts more critically. They learn how to pose and respond to complex ideas, analyze and interpret and evaluate different points of view. You will be making cogent arguments in both written and oral forms, and you're going to get to know a small group of fellow first-year students really, really well as your professor. First-year seminars are welcome, open learning environments. They foster a love of learning and academic excellence in a small classroom setting. I myself have taught a first-year seminar for years, and it's really one of my very favorite courses. I get to know my students really well, and we end up staying in touch across my students' Wake Forest careers and well beyond. And not just students who wind up majoring in history, my SIP subject, but all my students, those who major in business, engineering, and sociology. In short, our first-year seminars create a powerful learning community and a powerful mentored faculty-student relationship around the exploration of ideas and learning and life. These courses will be face-to-face, and some will be blended as well. And for those students who can't be here, they will be online too. I want to close out my comments by sharing a handful of first-year seminar titles to whet your appetite for the choices you're going to be able to make. Here's one: The Psychology of Inequality. Another, Minds and Machines. Do machines have minds? And another, The Geopolitics of James Bond. What about misinformation and disinformation? Thinking critically about fake news. How about Commencing Character? How should we live? There's a first-year seminar on a history of sports, another on practicing citizenship at Wake Forest and in the community. One called Beware the Ides, Beware the Hemlock, Role-Playing Crisis in Ancient Greece and Rome. And another called Lost Continents, Ancient Astronauts, and Mysterious Mound Builders, Pseudoscience, Epistemology, and the Human Past. These titles give you just a taste of the dozens of exciting offerings you will get to choose from. And now I want you to hear from Provost Kirsch.
I just wanted to add 2 notes of encouragement on the academic side to the wonderful array of details you've heard so far from our terrific deans who work with undergraduate students. One is about our teacher scholars. You've heard a lot about our fabulous faculty in the classroom. And one of the distinctive features of Wake is that although our superb faculty are always in the classroom, they're also magnificent researchers. It was one of the hardest moments of this incredibly difficult last few months with the pandemic when we had to ramp down and then close our laboratories on campus and all kinds of face-to-face research, including performing arts and the like. And just this past week, we began to reopen our laboratories, our performance spaces, the wonderful research our faculty do across all kinds of dimensions here on campus. It's cautious, of course, it's socially distanced, but it really is encouraging to see folks back in the labs and performance spaces and the like doing that magnificent work here at Wake Forest, because we don't have as extensive a group of graduate programs and PhD programs across the arts, humanities, and social sciences. Much of that research work is done with students, including first-year students, as you get to know faculty members. So another note of excitement was to see some of our students returning to the labs and the performance spaces and the like as well. A second note of encouragement has to do with enrollments. You know, as you've been reading nationally, that many schools are really worried about, will they have students showing up, both first years and upper year students, as well as graduate and professional this fall. And so far, our enrollments have looked very strong. We expect to welcome indeed a possibly record size first year class. And I'm so excited that so many of you on this call will be among that group. Just a couple notes of hope. All right, you've heard a lot about what's going to happen inside the classroom as well as remote learning in these different modalities. What kind of experience can you expect to find on campus outside the classroom? We're fortunate to have a renowned national leader at the helm of that planning. Penny Rue, our wonderful vice president for campus life. She's also a professor in our counseling department. She joined us 7 years ago from University of California at San Diego. She's got experience, or she herself went to a number of ACC competitor schools, shall we say, including Duke and UNC. She's also been at UVA, as well as Georgetown. Penny and her team have broad responsibility for the safety and well-being of our students and their education outside the classroom. Penny, over to you.
You'd think I'd be better at managing the mute button by now, but thank you, Provost Kirsch, for that warm introduction, and welcome, class of 2024. It's almost time. Well, as Provost Kirsch has said, I really care passionately about promoting the safety and well-being of our entire community. But just as important to me is building that sense of belonging that is the hallmark of the Wake Forest experience. And we are making all of our decisions with these twin commitments in mind. Now, I'm guessing that you've chosen Wake Forest in part because of our residential experience and because you have every intention of being involved on campus. Wake is not the kind of place where you sit on the sidelines. So what will it be like in the fall? First, we are committed to housing all of our new students on campus. We want you to find your home base and your newest friends as quickly as possible. And we'll soon be asking your preference about a single or a double, and we'll do our best to give you your first choice. Our resident advisors are excited to meet you and especially excited to help you claim your place here at Wake Forest. They are academically gifted and engaged upper class students who are your frontline navigators and problem solvers. Our student organization leaders are also so excited about your arrival. I'm working now with a very creative group of students, faculty, and staff using a framework called Appreciative Inquiry to look for the most positive approaches to creating engagement in a safe and healthy way. Appreciative Inquiry focuses on creating possibilities. Through the processes of discovery, design, dreaming, and destiny, the group is finding ways to leverage existing Wake Forest strengths to create a fun out-of-class experience. How do we help you make new friends and explore what we have to offer? How can we use our beautiful outdoor spaces in ways that engage you with each other in meaningful ways? What does it mean to provide the hallmark Wake Forest face-to-face personal experience while complying with public health guidance? These are the questions this group is probing. Think about our beautiful central quad, Hearn Plaza, as the playroom of campus. A cappella concerts on the balcony, movies on the lawn, a faculty dog parade around the bricks. Envision food truck Fridays in front of Bostwick and Johnson, the first year area, with picnics on Magnolia Quad. We're planning low-risk intramurals like bowling, tennis, cornhole, and frisbee golf, three-point shooting, horse, and ping pong. And we have low-risk club sports like archery, bass fishing, cycling, equestrian, fencing, and golf. We're also engaging our students in developing a student social compact. We've assembled a really talented group of student leaders from every facet of campus, and they are immersing themselves in understanding what we know about the virus, our risk factors, and existing student attitudes and behaviors. The group will put those together with what they know about each other, the campus, and what matters most to them in terms of connection. Then they'll use the principles of design thinking, an iterative process that seeks to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent. This group will then work together to develop and promote among their peers the tenets that they will choose to live by and think through how to make these shared commitments across the campus. Now, we're all aware of the importance of testing as a key strategy, so I'd like to update you all on how we're deploying that strategy. Be assured we are following the best of public health guidance, especially from the American College Health Association, which focus specifically on colleges and universities. Before students return in the fall, they'll complete a screening tool of symptoms on their exposure. And those with either symptoms or exposure, you will have a test kit shipped overnight to your home. Samples will be returned to the lab in an overnight package the very next day that's provided with the test kit. And you will receive your results through a portal, and a complete report will be provided to the university. Those of you who have positive results will then be required to provide documentation from a medical provider or a local public health official documenting that you've met the CDC criteria for release from home isolation. Students with negative test results but with symptoms will see a medical provider to secure clearance to return to campus as well. We'll offer diagnostic testing to all students, faculty, and staff who need it. That means prioritizing testing for anyone with symptoms of potential COVID-19 infection. That testing will be augmented with contact tracing, plus isolation and quarantine of exposed individuals. And we are securing housing that will remain ready and waiting for exposed or infected students. Now, it's important for you to know that the overall prevalence of COVID in a healthy young adult population is low, probably less than 1%. At this prevalence level, the value of broad population testing would be undermined by both false positive and false negative results. And negative tests can lead to a false sense of security and potentially risky behavior. So it's just not recommended. Now, to help us continue getting ready for fall, we are wrapping up a project where we've conducted focus groups with members of 16 different groups of students to find out what had worked well over the past few months in terms of virtual engagement. They've told us what matters most to students right now in terms of connection, and that is helping us and them plan for fall. We've also conducted a survey with over 3,000 responses that asked students about their attitudes and behaviors regarding physical distancing, hygiene behaviors, and what they think others do. And this is going to help us create a social norms campaign to help align attitudes and behaviors. It turns out our students are pretty savvy about safety. 93% believe it's their responsibility to maintain physical distance, and 96% often, very often, or always practice regular hand washing. And when you think about it, that mirrors our experience with students in the spring. Post-spring break, we had about 450 students on campus with another 300 nearby. And during that time, there was absolutely no community transmission of the illness, despite having students return from spring break positive for COVID-19 or in isolation from exposure. So I trust our students to use good judgment. You've probably also heard about the family pod concept, where people engage in group activities with the same people to limit exposure. So the college and campus life are exploring developing cohorts of students who will be in some classes together, as well as live near each other, both to strengthen their bonds of connection and to limit risk. So we're excited to welcome you to campus in the fall. We'll do our best to make up for the rituals you've missed over the past few months. We'll connect you to the resources you need, and we'll help you make new friends. I just can't wait to meet you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Sharice James. I oversee the orientation experience here at Wake Forest. First, I want to offer congratulations and welcome to the class of 2024. Believe it or not, I've been working on your behalf since September 2019, preparing our campus to welcome you in August. This year has certainly not played out in the way any of us planned, but that has not changed the excitement we have in welcoming you to the Wake Forest family. Second, many of you have rightfully asked about the plans for pre-orientation and New Deek Week. So I'd like to share where we are with both of those pieces. Last week, we made the decision to extend the registration deadline for pre-orientation programs. For band, we're going to extend that deadline to July 15th. For the rest of the programs, that deadline will be Wednesday, July 1st. We're also in the process of transitioning our pre-orientation experiences to be done virtually during the early part of August in an effort to avoid conflict with students making their physical transition to campus. As of today, we've had almost 400 students register for a pre-orientation experience. The team and I really dug into the desire to provide our newest deacons with the opportunity to connect with faculty, staff, classmates, and upperclassmen in a smaller group setting. While we could have made the decision to forego these experiences for a year, we owed it to your class to provide the first step in making meaningful connections regardless of the mode of delivery. The coordinators and I are still finalizing all the details, specific dates, costs, etc., but you will receive the information within the next 2 weeks. So be sure to keep your eye on your Wake Forest email address. Our orientation experience for students is threefold: summer tasks and assessments, fall orientation, and extended orientation just after the start of academic courses. We are currently in the process of creating our online orientation, or New Deek 101, which is expected to launch in mid-August. Students will have the opportunity to work through the information being provided by over 30 campus partners, from the Office of Wellbeing to the Office of Personnel and Career Development. Additionally, students will work through an extended orientation module during the month of September, aimed to get them well acquainted with academic resources and bystander intervention training. Due to the anticipated need to continue physical distancing, we have made the difficult decision to move parent and family orientation online as well. While I know you might be disappointed to hear that, there's a great benefit to this mode of delivery. In normal years, our parents and family orientation sessions take place in the same day as move-in and run into the evening, as well as into the next day. Families are normally hot, sweaty, tired, and overall overwhelmed after all of the activities have taken place, which often makes it hard for families to absorb all of the important information for orientation. We should have all of the parent and family orientation sessions online by late July, which will give you the time and space to digest all the information and content in time for you to connect on campus. In terms of actual details, we know that families have a lot of things that they want to align regarding traveling, move-in. Our team is working on all aspects for the start of school right now, so we expect to have more information later on. So at this point, we're going to transition to a question and answer session. As we transition, we sifted through hundreds of questions that were submitted and selected the most frequently asked questions that were not already answered via tonight's remarks. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that many of you have asked questions about specific details that our planning teams are still working on. Everything from how will classrooms be set up, to what sanitation and cleaning protocols will be used, to whether students will be allowed to leave campus. I want to ensure that our teams are looking at all of these areas, but the answers will be emerging as our university continues to work and plan for the fall. So we can't give those answers to you tonight. Some other questions like Greek recruitment happening this fall is easy to answer. First year students cannot go through recruitment until the spring semester. I imagine that other questions will come up since we began this conversation, and I will do my best to quickly pull those if I am able to catch them. At the completion of this town hall, however, we'll be archiving the questions submitted on chat and will include the answers to the frequently asked questions. This town hall is also being recorded and will be available on ourwayforward.wfu.edu. So to start us off, Dean Ikovu, could you tell us about the larger aspects that were explored for the scenario planning team as you considered the reopening of campus for the fall?
Thank you, Dr. James. Good question. Let me just say what was not difficult or big issue is there were no debates, and it was not difficult to think about our own values and the priorities as articulated by our president. Those were never compromised, and nobody, as I said, engaged in a dialogue about those. Well-being number one, academic excellence, the things that you have heard about already tonight. There were some things that we contemplated and we went back and forth, the timeline of the semester, what its exact day, start day, the exact end date. Is it the Monday or is it the Tuesday after Thanksgiving? So we went back and forth on those, but I'll tell you, the umbrella that invited the most conversation related to our plans was trying to humanize our plan, trying to understand what human beings like you and me and our students or our colleagues will actually do when they're invited to respect each other's health, support that community aspirations for safety. It's one thing to have a policy, it's another to create the social environment, the culture, the motivations for people to embrace that policy, own it, and make it real for all of us. So I would say we spent a lot of hours thinking about forecasting and designing for human behavior that we would like to see on our campus in the fall. So I hope this is helpful.
Thank you. Speaking about humanizing our plan, for new first-year students and transfer students, making connections and finding their niche can be very challenging. Dr. Rue, what are some ways that the university has started to consider assisting new students through this challenge, given the new normal?
Well, thank you, Charisse. And as you can imagine, this is really one of my highest priorities, along with keeping our students safe. And I'm happy to say that it's our student leaders that are really wrestling with this now. As I mentioned above, using this process of appreciative inquiry, new students are actually the lifeblood of their organization. So they are highly motivated to make these connections. So instead of last year's model, where every single student group gathers on Magnolia Quad on a steamy afternoon, we'll break those opportunities into more bite-sized pieces at the residence hall level. Some will be done virtually, some in small groups, with lots of potential in our spacious outdoor environment. We also, we had a great opportunity this spring to reinvent one of our beloved traditions called Wake and Shake, a dance marathon. The student leaders were so creative. They reached out to hundreds of students. They created an incredibly engaging virtual dance marathon. Just delightful. It was so inspiring. So they're very anxious to be able to do that. So I think we can't underestimate exactly the creativity of our students. I will also say that our community service programs have really kept going strong this whole time. We have students that are reading aloud to first, second, and third graders. We've got students that are mentoring tweens and early teens and food distribution programs. We imagine we can reinvent another one of our beloved traditions called Project Pumpkin in the fall that in a more physically distanced way that allows us to serve the community and also inspire the creativity of our students. So I think our creativity is going to be in full force as we create these new possibilities.
Perfect. Dean Gillespie, you shared a phenomenal list of FYS courses. Many freshmen are also doing some introductory classes that are usually large and in person. Could you talk a bit more about the planning behind in-person versus online for our large courses?
This is a great question, Dr. James. And our faculty are meeting right now within each of their departments and thinking through how they can offer their courses in the best possible way, the most engaging classes, the most learning within the space constraints that we have because of COVID-19. So what we believe that we will be doing with the large lecture courses, and let me point out, we don't have that many large lecture courses, even for our introductory students. What we will be doing is offering those courses in blended or online modalities. We think that most of our faculty, as I talk with them and as we look at how they're planning, will offer them blended in courses so that they will do some synchronous and asynchronous learning online, but then they'll break those classes up into cohorts of 30 or less students for our social distancing requirements and meet with those students in cohorts face to face. So there will be multiple opportunities for students to be with their faculty members, that literally be with them, be in the classroom as well in that socially distanced way. So we're going to make the best of what technology can provide for us and using our classrooms as well. So that's what we'll be doing.
Perfect, thank you. And Dean Ikovu, many institutions made the decision at the beginning to begin their fall semester earlier. What were some factors for deciding not to pursue this option?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That was, as I said, that was one of the items that really invited a lot of consideration by the planning team across the whole university. Some schools, as you pointed out, they're choosing to start earlier. Others, they're actually pushing back their start dates, some of them all the way into September. So there is some variance around this aspect of the plans. In general, the dimensions that were considered, that are being considered as we said, the calendar dates for the fall are local conditions related to the prevalence of COVID, a forecast about a region's, states, or even the university's preparedness to secure certain supplies, to get ready to complete the kind of training that Dr. Gillespie identified earlier and get ready for welcoming the students to their campus. Accreditation requirements. There are requirements about how many weeks we must have as we deliver our courses. So the moment you select the starting day, that has an impact on your end date and other considerations. And finally, a forecast about the COVID conditions in the fall. Many are arguing that there might be a second wave or not. So when you take all of that into the mix, then you need to consider some competing demands. Let me just give you one illustration on one of those dimensions alone. If you believe that the predictions that are being made, that testing will be sufficient and all the other needs that we'll have by August, then the longer you shift that deadline, the higher the probability that those supplies will be plentiful for all. The earlier you move it, the higher your risk. Well, now make the same set of assumptions about the prevalence of COVID in the fall. So all of a sudden, as you start factoring those items, then you start shifting the best window, if you will, for opportunity to engage physically. So taking that into consideration, we concluded that August 26th is the best date for us. And let me also acknowledge that is not always true for some of our graduate programs. So we will have activity on campus prior to that point. And in fact, we do have some right now with graduate students engaging in academic work as we speak. So August 26th is a unique, important day that we all cannot wait for, but I want to recognize there is a larger spectrum of engagement days that are ongoing as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I want to shift our attention to another special population of ours, our international students. So due to COVID-19, visa application and flights for international students have been delayed and may be impossible to arrive on campus in the fall. Can you talk to me, Provost Kirst, a little bit about sort of accommodations for either online or working with other international colleges, or even time zone challenges.
Dr. James, we are eager to welcome our international students, and we know that a formal in-person welcome may be delayed. As Dean Gillespie described, every faculty member, and that includes me, I do teach a class every semester, is preparing to teach online in as robust and engaging a fashion as possible. Many of us will teach both courses that meet entirely online and others that meet either just face-to-face or in blended modalities. The online classes would obviously be offered to students who are unable to return to campus. Let me note, this is not only international students. We know that there'll be a significant number of our domestic students who aren't able to be on campus for a variety of reasons. And we also know that students who are here in Winston-Salem and living on campus in many cases will elect to have some of their classes in an online modality. So let me say that a class that say an international student may be taking online will be a rich blend of other international students from around the globe, domestic students who may be in Los Angeles or New York or Boston, and or campus students here on campus. We worked out a lot of details of teaching students who were across the globe and in Winston during these past few months. I think of one example, Dr. Ananda Mitra, who's in communications, had in a single class of a couple dozen students in 12 different time zones. We've got experience with this. Let me also note, Wake Forest has multiple overseas locations where our students study abroad. As many of you know, we have the second or third, depending on the year, highest proportion of undergraduates who study abroad for credit. So we've got a lot of experience with this. Some of these locations are property that we own. Others are places where we work with university partners in their home countries and rent space and the like for classrooms. We are currently preparing, or at the leading edge of this, but we're currently preparing to offer face-to-face Wake Forest courses, working with resident faculty who've taught Wake Forest students before in multiple locations overseas. So many of our international students, along with online courses offered at Wake, will be able to take face-to-face courses across the globe. We've got locations that we're planning in Shanghai and in Beijing, multiple locations across Europe and Latin America, and more. So it will be a much richer experience than we hope than just staying at home.
Perfect, thank you. So there's been a lot of interest and questions coming in about registration. Dean Gillespie, could you talk a little bit about any updates on the registration process, and then the opportunities for students to distinguish between online and in person?
Absolutely, Dr. James. So our faculty are really busy right now. They are looking at their courses very, very carefully and thinking about the best modality to offer them. And they're working within their departments to make sure we offer the right core courses in multiple modalities, and courses also for our majors, and then other electives on the way. So they're very, very busy doing this work in Dean Iacovo's Business School, in the undergraduate college, and they will have, for their choices of modalities, worked out from academic department to academic department by the end of this month. And they will be submitting this to the registrar at the end of the month, and the registrar will be matching their request for space with our classroom space. So that's going to take about a week to do that. That means that we will be releasing all of our course offerings with the modalities that they will be offered in each course, each section, by July 14th. That is the plan. We will put up on WIN all of our courses, all of our course offerings, and students will be able to see the specific modality that they will be offered in. We will also provide students with concrete information about what each modality entails. And we even have some incredible graphics to bring that home as well. That means that we will be able to have our students have about 2 weeks to look at those offerings, our first year students, and then new student self-registration will begin Monday, July 27th and go through Friday, July 31st for all our new undergraduates.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to transition to talk about housing, which has been a very popular topic, right? So Dr. Rue, I'm going to combine two questions, but I know you're going to knock it out of the park. So If a first-year student is at risk, in an at-risk category, asthma, diabetes, etc., is it possible for them to request an accommodation for that?
Absolutely. And this happens every year, not COVID related. We have an extremely well-developed process for students to seek medical accommodations. It works with our Office of Learning Assistant and Disability Support, our Student Health Service, and our Housing Office to make sure that we can take care of these concerns.
And we know that Student Health has been a great partner. Could you talk a little bit more about the protocols, the processes, and there's been questions about staffing. So could you share a little bit about that?
Well, I think it's fair to say that as hard as everyone's been working, nobody's been working harder than our Student Health Service over the past few months. So in planning for fall, we are extending our hours for student health and expanding our staffing to meet demand. We will separate the clinic so that we can serve students with upper respiratory illnesses that may or may not be COVID in a separate location from those with other routine health issues. We will have rapid point of care testing with results available in as little as 15 minutes. So we can react very quickly to trace and isolate contacts. We are obtaining off-campus spaces where we can isolate students with symptoms as well as those who've been exposed to limit future exposure. Our student health director and our medical director are both trained in public health, which makes them exceptional leaders at this time in our community. But we're also, as Professor Iacovu said, lucky to have a tertiary care hospital with an outstanding infectious disease department, and its members have provided us exceptional guidance in developing our protocols. And we have an excellent emergency department and intensive care unit should they be needed. So we are creating protocols with multiple indicators, including North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services guidelines that will help us determine how and when we would need to pull back to a stay-at-home approach. But our student health is incredibly focused on the individual needs of our students. For every student that has had any issue in the past few months, they've had a daily telehealth visit with one of our advanced practice providers. And this is an incredibly dedicated group. So I feel really confident about our ability to serve our students.
Dr. James, could I add just a word?
Sure, I
We
was
are
going to open that.
very blessed to have a medical school as part of Wake Forest and a medical center that has 5 hospitals. We are working very collaborative. As Dr. Rue said, they're providing great expertise. They're actually in development of an app which all faculty and staff and students will use to check their health daily. But it gives us tremendous capacity. We're not just in a town, Winston-Salem, by ourselves. We have this major medical center that can consult with us along the way.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Hatch. And we've come to the end of our formal program, and I wanted to be sure to check in with our esteemed panelists to ensure that there weren't any last minute comments. I'm looking around and not seeing any responses, so that's fantastic. So we've come to the end of our formal program, and I'd like to remind you that ourwayforward.wfu.edu will continue to be updated as we grapple with many of the lingering questions surrounding our return to Wake Forest in the fall. Please visit the site often and be on the lookout for further new student communications regarding the dates and deadlines from me. Be well, and we look forward to seeing you all on campus soon. Thank you.
Thank you.